Welcome, community of Anchorage, to your theater, Anchorage Community Theater. I am Matt Fernandez, Executive Director here at ACT, and this is another episode of the Anchorage Theater Community, a show where we get to know all about the directors and actors and designers and all those folks involved in the theater community here in Anchorage. Our next guest, you might have seen her in Christmas Carol, Rent, Into the Woods, and The Gulag Mouse. We have Danielle Rabinovitch. Let's welcome Danielle Rabinovitch. Hi, how are
Hi.
you? Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. You may have a seat, or you can stand the whole time, and it's very weird.
Sure.
So, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic.
Good, good.
How about you?
I'm doing okay. I have to say that something special happened 40 years ago. Greatness was brought into the earth in 1979. I was born.
And you were born.
Yep.
Happy birthday.
I'm 40 years old.
Happy birthday, Matt.
Thank you.
That's exciting.
I'm old now. Now is like this is the peak to where like the midlife crisis starts to happen.
No.
We'll see. This show is my midlife crisis. I just decided to do that. Anyways, so Danielle, you always seem to be doing something in acting. Every time I see you or I check up on you or whatever, you're always doing a show. Is that?
I mean, I like to do as much as I can. Performing and acting, singing, a big part of my life.
And you are in a show now, SUMMERLAND.
I am.
Written by Arlitia Jones.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
SUMMERLAND. So Arlitia Jones is a local Alaska playwright. The script is amazing and so brilliant. It's William H. Mumler, who is a real historic figure, was on trial for, Chief Marshal Tooker is trying to prove that he's a fraud. And William H. Mumler was a famous spirit photographer.
Oh, cool.
And
So this is
so
kind of
just
like
after
a
the Civil
Halloween,
War,
I mean, it's perfect for Halloween time kind
perfect
of
for
thing.
Halloween. Yeah, you don't really know what's happening, and there are 3 characters in the play. So it's David Haynes and Anthony Lansbury and myself.
I don't know if I know David Haynes, but it's okay.
I don't know.
He must be new.
He's pretty new to the scene, I think. He hasn't done too much.
And Anthony's good, man. People every time he's in the show, people are like, oh man, that guy was great. I mean, I think people loved him in the Trailer Park musical. He did really well. Anyways, so the show, spirit photographer guy.
Yes, and so my character, Mrs. Mumler, Mumler's wife, is the only character in the play that's not based on a real person in history. And so there's a little more mystery there. And without giving anything away, she's mysterious, she's mystical, she's powerful. She's amazing. I fell in love with this character and this script, and I feel so honored and humbled to be a part of this cast and crew. The creatives are wonderful, and it's been such a blast.
And Teresa directed that one?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I'm trying to think what the last thing she directed was. I don't remember. She directs a lot at Sierra Nose, I think. I remember her directing Much Ado About Nothing.
Much Ado.
Were you in that one too?
I was not in that, but I saw it.
I always just assume that you're in everything that's going on.
Not everything.
You're probably in our show at ACT now.
I think I am, actually.
So Arlitia Jones is a local playwright. A little side note, I think I mentioned this during maybe Maddie's interview, but Arlitia actually donated a set piece, or a set dressing piece to this show that we're closing now, Constance and Estra.
No kidding.
And it's that meat hook right there.
Are you kidding?
So yeah, she works at this like butcher shop of like game and stuff that you can shoot and bring to them. And we were looking for something that you would see from Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something for this show.
That looks about right.
Yeah, and I think Colby, who was our associate director, Colby Bleicher, mentioned her, and I dropped by there and got to see this she took me in the back where all these, dead animals are, and let us borrow that hook. And so thank you, Arlitia, again for the hook. This is better than having your name in the program. People just talk about you all the time. So did this did this play have its day in court at the last Frontier Theater Conference before it was produced, or I'm curious how it got done?
So I originally saw it. There was a staged reading. Tosspot's production did a staged reading of it with Tamar. Do you know Tamar?
Yes, I do.
And David Haynes and Wayne Mitchell, I believe. And then I think it's been produced elsewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Cincinnati in the park, and Seattle Rep did a workshop, and a couple other places. But she's super excited to bring it back to her home community. And
how much time does it have left on the calendar now?
We run through November 10th.
Okay, so I want to come see it. It's a little bit hard for me to see plays these days because I live in the baby dimension at home. So anytime I leave to go do something, I am a jerk because I'm leaving my wife home with all 3 kids, and that's very hard. Every time she goes to do something, she's being a jerk. Actually, right now, they all think I'm going out to get diapers, but I usually sneak out and do this show, and I come back. So.
Well, and it's your birthday.
Yeah, I don't have to watch any kid. I don't have to be a husband or father on my birthday.
That's not what I meant.
Okay. Speaking of Last Valdez Theater Conference, you have been an attendee since I think 2011 or somewhere around there.
Gosh, something like that, yeah.
So about eight years.
8 or so years, I think I've been going. 9 maybe.
So how'd you get involved in that? How'd you first hear about it?
So when I was going to school in Hawaii and got my degree there at the university, and when I got back, I had some friends in the local theater community here. They told me about it. I didn't know much about it. I was kind of just looking for opportunities, and reached out to Dawson. And because I had come from out of state, they said, they were like, "Oh, who's this person from Hawaii? She's been on Lost, and oh, what is this?" And all, so that was kind of funny, but it was great, and it's a really cool opportunity to meet other like-minded artists and just get to play and work for a week. It's very cool. I would highly recommend it to anybody who's never gone.
Okay, so that's something I didn't know about you. You were on the television show Lost.
I was.
And that was when you were in Hawaii. So how did that happen, and who did you play? What did you do?
I did background work for several seasons.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah, my acting professor there kind of got me into it, and it was super fun. Yeah,
that's always a good experience. If you really get to know your place when you're like an extra.
Oh yeah. My favorite one that I ever did was, we were filming a scene for the Dharma Collective, and I want to say I was laying on the ground portraying a corpse for like 8.5 hours. And that turned into like a 15-second thing. It was great.
Gosh.
I mean, I loved it. It was great. And I had about 48 mosquito bites to show for it. But it was so fun.
When I was living in Atlanta, I tried to get in to do whatever was going on outside of my work that I was doing there. But I was able to be an extra in a Tyler Perry movie. I was in Medea Goes to Jail.
No kidding.
Yeah, and I played Crackhead. That was my character. Was a crackhead.
Typecast.
So yeah, and so actually it was a scene in the movie where they filmed this alleyway, and there's crackheads, hookers, and johns, right?
Okay.
And so we get there early, and they're doing makeup on us, and they give me the track marks. I look horrible, right? And then they have women dressed as these prostitutes, and we're all just hanging out in the back, us crackheads and prostitutes. I just thought, this is the weird. You never picture yourself in these situations, but when you do with acting, and this is where you end up. But I really learned, the extra's kind of the lowest of the low, Like I remember they had a meal time. They're like, okay, everybody, the principal actors are going to come eat. And they came and they ate, and after they were done, okay, you guys, and it was almost like, okay, you guys just have the leftover scraps that they didn't eat. You know, I was like, I should
piece of bread,
I should
glass
just
of water.
hang out by Tyler Perry and wait for him to throw me like a breadcrumb or whatever. But no, it was tons of hours, and I got done really late at night. And the funny story was, I used to do this at ACT all the time. My tradition was every opening night, whatever show that I was in, we would always go out to Red Robin or whatever.
Good
And
friends.
yeah, and no matter what makeup I had on, I made myself leave it on and go to the restaurant with the cast with the makeup on. So
Okay.
I was the Tin Man, so I had the Tin Man face, and I was one of them. I had really weird makeup for Alice in Wonderland. I was the caterpillar. And so, keeping with tradition, I got done about midnight in Atlanta, drove back to Lawrenceville, and before I did that, I stopped at a Waffle House. Nobody else there except the two cooks who see me walk in dressed as this crackhead. But I don't act like a crackhead. I just sit down and act completely, hey, how's it going, guys? Yeah, I think I'll have the blah, blah, blah. And they were just, I could tell they were just like, what's going on here? I had to finally tell them what was going on. So I think that it would be great if more people would continue that tradition.
I'll consider it.
Great. But the truth is, so I did that, and I did this Melissa Joan Hart and Joey Lawrence film called My Fake Fiancé. I was also an extra.
Nice.
And both films they cut me out of.
Oh, that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you gotta start somewhere, and it's a great experience no matter what
Yeah, it is fun. It is really fun. So you're from Alaska. Did you go to high school here in Alaska?
I did, born and raised in Alaska. I graduated from Bartlett, Gold Bears. And so I went to college I studied at Southern Oregon University, and then took a year off and did an environmental, I had an internship that I did for a year, and then I started studying in Hawaii. They had really strong science and theater programs, so I was kind of studying both.
So that was your area of study, was science and theater.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my degree I have a degree in natural resource management, so a lot of environmental conservation, things like that. But I was studying theater at the same time, and probably took more theater than anything else, because that's where my passion lied. So, yeah, but originally from Alaska, I love it.
Did you get any specific like acting method training in your time, like any like of the different methods, like Meisner or something like that before? Yeah,
I did. So in Oregon, I did Meisner and Stanislavski, and then in Hawaii, I did a little more like Uta Hagen and some others. But
which seemed to kind of stick for you? Which one seemed more like your style?
Mine's kind of a combination of a couple of them.
Yeah.
That's a hard question, I think, but it's good. I think everyone needs to find their own to see what works for them.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way of like, I just kind of pick out whatever works. I think when I took Meisner, it really just changed my perspective on things. I always thought that was a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have been in a lot of plays. I mean it. Every time I hear about you, you're always doing a show, it seems like, which is great. And you've done quite a bit with Perseverance, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done Christmas Carol with them. I think last year was the fifth production of it, the remount. Yeah.
And who did you, did you play the same role, or?
Last year, so it's sort of an ensemble where you play more than one role, but I did The Ghost of Christmas Past, and then Catherine and Mrs. Dibbler, or...
Yeah, I think that's the name of it, right? Is that the lady at the end who like has his bed sheets and stuff?
Yes, the laundress.
Is it Dilbert?
Dilber, I'm sorry. What did I say? Dibbler. Dilber. This is Dilber.
Dibbler sounds like a much more creative name that Charles Dickens should have come up with.
I mean, maybe. But I also so everyone's playing more than one role in that production. I also did last year Our Town with them in their Anchorage run.
Was that last year?
It was last year. Mm-hmm.
Right.
They had an actor that wasn't able to commit to the Anchorage run, so I kind of stepped in, which was a funny story because
cool. That's great.
I had just finished doing I had just finished doing Rocky Horror Show at Fernandez, so and I was Janet in that production, so I finished doing that on a Saturday. We closed, and then Sunday morning I jumped into Our Town with only like 2 or 3 rehearsals, never having done a full run through even, and we were just joking about how well, they're pretty much the same show. Time is fleeting and all that. So
that's
very but but it was very fun. And then I also did Othello with them in Juneau.
And what's it like in Juneau with them? I have actually never been to Juneau before.
You should go. It's gorgeous.
I keep trying to drive there, but it's very hard to get there.
Yeah, a little bit.
People are gonna watch this and not get my jokes, and they're gonna think I'm a freaking idiot. Like, man,
I'm sure that's not true. Maybe just a little time scared. Again, it's your birthday.
Yeah, that's right. Deserve it.
Just no, Juneau is amazing, and I loved working with Perseverance there. Their space is awesome. It's very cool, and we had a really great experience. The cast was all stellar, and it's a beautiful and tragic and gut-wrenching piece. But the setting, Juneau is just fabulous. I was going hiking every day.
Really? Nice. Yeah. I'd love to go there. And that was where your role in that was?
So I was Amelia.
Amelia, okay.
And which is a total kick-ass, awesome role. I love. Super fun.
Have you done much Shakespeare?
Some, but not as much as I would like.
So you really like
I did the Scottish with the English opera. I've worked with them as well.
Really?
So that was really fun. And wanting to do more. I really love Shakespeare.
Well, maybe we'll do some more. So you can try out for us. Have you ever done an ACT show?
I did foreplay here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was out of town. I'm sure you did just fine.
It was super fun show. Dawson Moore's piece.
Oh yeah? Oh, very cool. Very cool. So, Christmas Carol in Our Town. Christmas Carol was the first play I ever did, ever, at ACT. It was 1992, and I played the Ghost of Christmas Future because I stuttered so much during my audition that Bob Palm gave me the role of the Ghost of Christmas Future. So, no, but he gave me a speaking role in the next play. But Christmas Carol, ACT kind of held on to that for a couple of years straight. That was like, we did the Christmas Carol every year in the 90s for a while, and then we dropped it, and so Perseverance has been doing it for 5 years now, or more than that.
So I guess this year will be the 6th. Yeah, but it's a great, family classic. Charles Dickens, you can't go wrong, and then adapted. The script has been adapted by Arlitia Jones and Michael Haney.
Oh, really?
Of Cincinnati Park Theaters. So it's
got a little bit new stuff.
A little local flair, and
who's your Scrooge this year?
I don't know that they've released the full cast, so I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
Oh, okay.
But
is it you?
You'll soon find out. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that would be fantastic
That'd be
to have a female Scrooge. Seriously.
Yeah.
Let's make that happen.
Maybe ACT.
Hey.
And then Our Town is actually kind of significant to ACT in a few ways. So ACT came out of another theater that was started in the right after World War II, called Anchorage Little Theater, and their first production ever was Our Town in 1947. And and then ACT became ACT in 1953, and then we did Our Town again. We might have done it somewhere in between that, because it's kind of community theater staple. But a very significant production of Our Town happened right at the 1964 earthquake. And so we were performing at AMU. So there's actually a very famous or a very well-known picture of the aftermath of the earthquake on 4th Avenue. And in the middle of the street is a banner that's AMU's Our Town, and that's ACT. So if you ever look at kind of those pictures and you see Our Town, it's kind of funny. It's like, our town, look, it's all torn up by an earthquake.
Right.
But that was an ACT show. And Bob Pond has a really funny story. When he was, right when the earthquake hit, he was in the costume department. And all the costumes fell and crushed him. And he had to swim his way out of the costumes to figure out. And you know, it was almost like, it reminds me of those stories of like when people get buried in an avalanche and they're like, they don't know which way is up or down or whatever. And according to his story, he was like, I don't even know where the ground is or the sky is, because he was covered in costumes. But yeah, so that was actually the only show ACT did in the 1964 season because of that earthquake.
The Diary of Anne Frank was really the show that solidified it for me that I'm an actor and this is what I want to do.
And how? And that was in 6th grade?
7th grade.
7th grade.
Yeah, and I also
I'd love to see a picture. Do you have a picture of you as Anne Frank?
I mean,
you do, but you don't.
Sure.
It's not for public circulation.
To the highest bidder. No, I could probably find that and show it to you.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've got it somewhere. But it also holds a special place in my heart because of my family heritage. I'm Jewish. On my dad's side, my grandmother Molly was the sole survivor of her family during the Holocaust, and she escaped.
And where did she live?
Poland.
Oh, really?
So they escaped from Poland, and then they came to here, and it was
What a tragic beginning for
yeah.
sure.
But so that show has always really held a special place in my heart.
Did you see the one that we did here?
I did not. I'm sorry. I had another show at the same time.
You're very, very busy. I get it. Well, I'll have to show you a video of it or something.
Yes, I will that.
It was a very good. It's a newer adaptation of it.
Oh.
And so what it shows is typically the play or the film ends with the family hears the footsteps.
Yeah.
The Gestapo coming to get them, and the lights go out. But in this production, it has they're just having a normal, fun time and kind of enjoying normal life in the annex, and then they come in, and it depicts the Gestapo coming in and taking everybody out, and it is so. I had seen it many, many times, but for everybody, it just you were paralyzed. It was just so like, it was horrible, but so effective to the story for sure. And that's one of the interesting things about the Diary of Anne Frank is, just like what happened with you is like, you're 12, 13 years old, and there's only a few plays out there that you really get to do some real acting. You know what I mean? Usually there's kid shows, and you can play all these kind of children's theater things, but a show like the Diary of Anne Frank offers a young actor that ability. I could see how that was very significant for you. So yeah, how did you get? Is that how you got started in all this acting stuff? Where did this all begin?
I'd probably say that's where it all began. My very first show ever was a musical in 5th grade called Take Your Hat Off When the Flag Goes By.
Who did you play?
The sister. I could tell you, I remember all the lyrics to all the songs still, and
Really?
It's patriotic and fun and totally ridiculous. In 5th grade I used to write a lot too. I would write plays, and
Really?
my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Monterosa, bless her, indulged me and would let us perform them in class. And I'm sure they were terrible.
Teacher.
Amazing teacher. Thank you, Mrs. Monrosa. I love you. So that was my first musical. But really, The Diary of Anne Frank was such a special experience for me, and that kind of solidified, like, just knowing that this is what I wanted to do and my part in performing.
Now, was that a school production or was that a community theater?
It was Clark Middle School.
Oh, really? At Clark?
Clark, yeah.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. You had mentioned to me before that, correct me if I'm wrong, that you were singing before you could speak.
Almost, yes. So my first word was daddy. My second word was E-I-E-I-O. And then my third word was mom.
Oh, okay.
So,
wow, so mom had to take a back seat to old McDonald, huh?
I guess I've been singing for a while. My mom also likes to tell this story about how before I was really speaking a lot of sentences or anything, that I knew all the songs. She would sing with us a lot, and so I would know all the songs. Like if I was going to one of my sister's choir concerts or something, even when I was, babe in arms, too young to know any of the things, people would be like, "How does your infant know all the music?" So I don't know.
So do you have a favorite musical?
Oh, so many.
Okay, name a couple.
Name a couple. I've really been loving Hadestown right now. I love Into the Woods. I'm a big Sondheim fan, and Into the Woods is one of my favorites.
And I've been wanting to do that at ACT in this little space, but everybody that I talk to laughs at me. They say, "That's great, you can't fit it in here," but I'm like, "Why not? You can try."
You could fit it in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could.
And
It's a
I
great
mean,
show.
and it takes some real musical chops to do it, but I mean, it's community theater. Community theater, I think, is where people can just, be a part of it and not have to go to acting and singing school and all that kind of stuff at the same time. And they also get to work with people who have, and get to learn from each other.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
That's a really special show.
Yeah. So, is there a part out there that you haven't played yet that is like the dream role for you?
Oh my God, you're asking the hard-hitting questions, man. So many. I mean, I've got a list. How much time you got?
I got some time.
Yeah, there are several. I've got some fun stuff coming up, and nothing that I can really talk about yet.
Sure.
But some exciting things hopefully in the works.
Good. Well, I'm excited.
But we'll see.
That comes around.
I will say, so just as an example, two dream come true roles for me really were in my past performance history when I got to play Maureen in Rent, total dream role, and The Baker's Wife in Into the Woods.
Oh yeah, you're the Baker's Wife. Mm-hmm. So when were these produced?
These were, let's see, 2013 and 14 maybe?
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
And where were these done at?
Theater Artists United did both of those. I think Rent was a collab between Anchorage Theater, or Alaska Theater for Youth, and Tao.
So, Theater Artists United, who was running that? Who was
so that was Stephen Alvarez, Christian Heppenstall, and Kristen Vertaler.
Okay.
That was kind of their baby, and they did some musicals and.
Wow, that's pretty. They're pretty bold, huh? Doing some really bold stuff.
Yeah.
It's very cool. And forgive me, what stage was it done on?
We performed in the Sydney at the Performing Arts Center.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
I love being there.
Yeah, it's a great space.
We did. It was it Sydney. We did Streetcar Named Desire. I think I mentioned in one of the last interviews we got to smoke real cigarettes on stage during that time. It's a different time, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was cool though. I was like, I can't believe we get to smoke here. Awesome. So any shows? So there's roles. I guess it's kind of the same question of, you know, what shows have you always wanted to be in? I guess would have the same roles, so maybe that.
There are a lot. I mean, yeah, I have quite a few. Les Mis has always been one that I've always wanted to do.
I'd do that one with you sometime.
Yeah, well, let's make that
I'd
happen.
love to do it. I've always wanted to be Javert.
Ooh,
I'd love to do it.
you'd be an amazing Javert.
Yeah, well, you know what we should do? And I was talking to the cast from Spitfire Grill last year, and they were talking about, you know, not necessarily doing the show like in its entirety, but doing like I remember, you know, you see on TV like where they stand in front of the microphones and they kind of go through the lines, almost like a Reader's Theater kind of a thing, but they're in costume and they sing it out, and I was like, yeah, we should just do that. You know?
That'd be a good way to do that, yeah.
That's very cool. Very cool. And what part in Les Mis would you like to have?
I mean, I think I've always been, I mean, Fantine is amazing. I'm a soprano, so Cosette is great as well. I think I'm a little maybe tall for Cosette.
Well, maybe the child Cosette.
Yeah.
I think you're done. I think you might.
Oh.
But
I
mean,
maybe.
You know, who am I to say?
And Eponine, I mean, probably Eponine.
Yeah, she's great. Boy, how tragic.
Most, yeah.
To make people cry. So you have, so both of you and I have done some acting with Cyrano's Theater Company when they were downtown, and now that they are on the bar. What show did you do with Cyrano's when they were downtown?
Oh, I did a workshop production of Come to Me Leopards. Was another Arlitia Jones original.
Wow, she's just
She's
plunking them
kind
out,
of big deal, that one. No, she's amazing. And we did that there. And then I also did Love, Loss, and What I Wore. Was another one.
How did you like working in that environment, that downtown Cyrano's environment?
Oh, it was a great space. Yeah, really lovely.
And then they moved over to the bar, and you've done some shows with them over there, right?
Yeah, so I'm doing Summerland now. Last year, David Haynes and I did Fortune's Shadow together.
Oh,
there.
that's right. I remember that one. And was that one that RKP produced as well, or was that not an RKP?
That was not RKP.
Okay.
No, I did Church and State with RKP.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
2 years ago, 3 years ago. No,
Right.
2. But I had worked in the space, the Out North space that is now Cyrano's.
Oh, before Cyrano's moved in there? Okay.
We did Gulag Mouse there, by
Oh, okay.
Arthur M. Jelly.
Okay.
Yeah, and different configuration, but it's a great space.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was worried that the move from downtown, because downtown is such a prime location, and you have cost-effective theater alternative as well there, you know, next to the things that the Performing Arts Center does. I was worried, you know, with that transition. I was like, gosh, I hope that they can get, you know, it's just a different location, a different environment, a different culture out there, and I was really pleased to see that Cyrano's, you know, was able to continue to do what they do, and it is a little bit different there, which is great. And Teresa and Shotzi have just done a really great job keeping it going and making something new out of it as well. So I'm very pleased that it worked out, because I was worried for a second, you know, because just that downtown location is so prime, you know, for like all the Anchorage culture stuff, you know. But they've done well. They've done some good shows out of there.
Agreed.
Will you tell me a little bit about Gulag Mouse? I'm not familiar with. I know
Sure.
Arthur from the conference, but I'm not familiar with that show.
Sure. So Gulag Mouse is about 5 women in a Siberian gulag. And there's
Sounds like a comedy.
It's a musical comedy. No, it's not at all. In fact, I remember when I told my family I was doing that show, and they're like, "God, are you ever gonna do a comedy again in your life?" And I was like, "I don't know." But no, it's a beautiful show, and Arthur Jolly. I'm trying to remember. I met him at the conference, and we read in something else, that another script that he had, and then he said, "Oh, Tosspots, you have strong female ladies in this group that you're performing with. Let me do this other script that I have," and it's such a beautiful and crushing story, and it just got made into a film, I believe, and just showed, and
Wow.
Beautiful story, and just gut-wrenching. And that actually, we started doing rehearsals and some improv and exercises and things really far in advance with Tosspots for that show. So Arlitia actually locked us in with the meat hooks, in the walk-in freezers for prolonged periods of time.
Oh, wow, she's one of those.
We got method on it. No, it was a tremendous experience and something we all felt was so special.
Who were your co-stars in that?
So that was Tamar Shea and Anya Wyndham, Morgan Mitchell and Erin Wiseman and Jill Sauerwein.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So who was behind the helm at Tosspot?
So Arlitia Jones and Jill Sauerwein
are
the 2 founding owner-operators.
Very cool.
And then so we did a few productions. Their last production, actually, we did Good Men Wanted. I choreographed that.
Yeah.
And
that was a good one.
Yeah, that was a beautiful show. Really special, really strong. Carrie Yanagawa directed. And I believe, Anya has moved away, Tamar has moved away, and they're, everyone, life and things happen and stuff, but we're reading scripts and trying to see kind of what's next for Tosspots.
I really like Tamar's style of acting.
She's brilliant.
Yeah, I saw her in some things, and I saw her at the conference, and I said, "Listen, I am a fan of yours." And I think she's really, really good. And it's too bad she's not up here. Is she in Portland or?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, she's in Lake Oswego,
Ooh,
Oregon.
nice.
I miss you tomorrow. Come back.
Yeah. So we kind of know where you started, how you started in all this. Tell us, where are you now in your acting career? What's going on with you? I mean, I know what play you're doing now, but what's ahead for you? You said there's a couple of things that is kind of top secret right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But is there anything you can share with us? What's your mindset?
My mindset. Some cool things coming up. I'm just trying to get as much experience as I can, and I love the work, so just getting involved and doing as much as I can. I've been doing more kind of local film stuff and some commercials and voiceover work as well. And
I saw you at the audition for the White Christmas.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah,
cool.
hey, nice job in that, by the way.
Did you get to see it?
Yeah, I did.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to see it. I mean, I saw it when it was in California, but I want to see it again.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you saw it.
Yeah, and I recently got an agent, a commercial agent on the East Coast, so hopefully doing some more commercial stuff. I had been taking some classes. I had sort of a prolonged visit to New York where I was taking classes.
Good for you.
And taking voice there and some other things, and earned a scholarship to the New York Film Academy for the musical theater program. So trying to see if that's in the cards, and considering grad school. I mean, I would love to pursue acting professionally.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Is where do you want to go with this?
Yeah. Pursuing acting professionally has always been a dream of mine.
And it sounds like it could be theater or film, or theater and film.
I mean either.
Yeah.
But theater is where my heart is, I think.
Is it? Wow. It's interesting. Well, let's see if I have anything else that I could ask you right now. Have you ever, you said you did a little bit of writing when you were younger. Is playwriting something you still have a desire for, or what about directing?
I directed a TVA show with Ryan Buin and Sarah Shoemaker.
Which one?
The Last Train to Nibrock,
Oh,
or
okay.
Train to Nibrock. Arlene Hutton,
And how
who we
was
met
that
at the
for?
theater conference.
Oh.
So that was during Academy. That was several years ago. But that was great, and I liked having the director hat on. I have to admit, it was fun. And then I mentioned I choreographed Good Men Wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I've worn many hats. I've done some songwriting and some poetry and some things, but it's been a really long time since I've written a play. Although I will admit I have 2 or 3 screenplays clunking around in my head.
Cool.
For shorts. So
Nice.
yeah, we'll see.
All right, people. Filmmakers, do her plays, or do her screenplays now. Anyways, Danielle, it's always a pleasure to see you, and I want to thank you for coming into ACT and being on the show today.
Likewise.
You were one of the, when I thought about doing this show like a year and a half ago, you were one of the first people that popped in my mind that I should have on. I just think, I just like to get to know, we see you and people like you on stage and stuff, and I thought, gosh, I really wonder where these people on stage are going with this, because in Anchorage theater, it's not the same as like you go to New York or LA, and you can kind of be like, yeah, everybody wants to be on Broadway, everybody wants to be in, films or whatever, but in Anchorage, you get to work with people who, do it as a hobby, or people who just, this is what they do with their life, and they're just going to stay in Anchorage and do that. But you also work with folks that are like, no, I'm going to go, professional with this. So,
Yeah.
and
You never know where the adventure will take you.
yeah, and I like to know where people got into this from. Anyways,
How did you get started?
oh, come on, that's when I interview myself.
Oh.
No, I've always wanted to make movies since I was a kid. I mean, from the earliest age that I can remember, I remember seeing, films like Raiders of the Lost Ark and, Star Wars and stuff. And I used to think that Steven Spielberg directed every movie that I thought was good. So I'd see like Predator and be like, Steven Spielberg directed that, or Die Hard or something. And then I realized that there's more than one director in Hollywood.
Awesome.
But I mean, I've always been acting. I mean, that was part of my play as a kid. I kind of I didn't want to play with anybody else because they didn't do it right. They didn't put enough drama into it, and so I usually just was by myself creating these little films and stuff in my mind. And I used to upstairs in my parents' living room was the set of all the films that I had come up with in my mind. They were usually sequels, and I would act them out, and I had a whole plot and everything. So I would play like I was in Die Hard, in a Die Hard sequel.
Nice.
I created a RoboCop 3 back before RoboCop 3 came out, and I created my own films. One was called Charlie's Day, that Tom Hanks was in, and he was going to be in.
Okay.
And it's all about he works at this market, or this kind of a this mall or whatever, and it's Christmas Eve, and he's all alone, and everything in the everything in the mall like comes alive and like attacks him. It's yeah. And then one of my favorites was Jake. Jake was about a snake, a huge python, and it was basically my rip-off of Jaws, but it was great. It was great. A mad scientist created Jake, and he also created this bomb that only worked if you plugged it into an outlet.
Nice.
So yeah, I was I must have been 25 at that. No, I'm kidding. I was like 10 or 11. But my mother's always been involved, and she was mostly involved with dance. She still is 75, and she still does dance recitals and stuff. And but she got me and my sister involved in dance when we were like 5 years old. I was doing ballet and all that kind of stuff. And
Awesome.
then we would appear in recitals, as little background characters, and then moved up to Anchorage, and she got involved with Ballet Alaska, and so we were trying out for Nutcracker, and I did Nutcracker in 1988, 89, and 90. No, sorry, not 88, 89, 90, and 91, and then right after that I thought, I don't know if I want to do ballet now that I'm getting into junior high, and so she was on the board at ACT and said you should try out for a Christmas Carol, and that's what I did, and I've kind of been there ever since, doing stuff.
That's his history.
Yeah.
That's
Maybe
awesome.
you can interview me sometime.
Sure.
All right.
Let's do that.
You could give me the hard questions.
Yeah, I'm in.
All right, folks. Well, this has been Danielle Rabinovitch, and she's wonderful. And I hope that you will come see her. Summerland has another week left after this week.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time this video comes out, you can still get tickets for it. That's probably going to sell out though that last weekend.
263 Arts, Center
Yeah.
Ticks. We run till November 10th.
Awesome. November 10th, and I'm going to try and see it. It sounds really interesting to me.
I
So
hope you enjoy it.
good.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, if I'm in the audience, just wave at me while you're on stage.
Okay. Yeah.
That's good. All right. Thank you, everybody. I want to thank you all for subscribing to the Anchorage Community Theater Facebook page, where you get to see the Anchorage Theater Community talk show. Please tune in for more. There should be another, we're going to do another one sometime in November before Thanksgiving, and before the year is out, we will do one in December, maybe two in December. And then just stay tuned with us. The goal is to just about every month have a new member of the Anchorage Theater Community on our show. Please mark your calendars. There's some shows going on before the Christmas season. We have Cyrano's Theater Company, of course, is doing Summerland. That is going on until November 10th. You can get your tickets at, what was it, Danielle?
Center Ticks.
Center Ticks, okay.
Or
Center Ticks.
263 Arts.
Or 263 Arts.
Spooky.
And RKP Productions is doing the Ice Maiden. They are, that will be from November 8th to the 10th. Please get tickets for that. Everything else is pretty much closing this weekend, so we thank you all for those who came to see Constance and Sinestra in the Cabinet of Screams. Thank you all for supporting TBA Theater's The Witch of Greythorn. I think in the last interview I said Greyhorn, but whatever. And Mr. Spider's Extra Scary Halloween. Stay tuned with TBA because they will be doing a Christmas show. It's a Wonderful Life. ACT is going to be reviving the best Christmas pageant ever. And I don't know what Perseverance is doing yet, but, oh, of course, Christmas Carol. Anyway, and I want to thank our sponsors. We have the Block Foundation, the Atwood Foundation, the Alaska State Council on the Arts, ConocoPhillips, Wells Fargo, and the Municipality of Anchorage, and the First National Bank of Alaska. And it's not just them, it is all of you who donate to ACT every single season, who come to our fundraisers and get those cool auction items and things. And I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, thank you for supporting this community theater, this staple of Alaska history. I appreciate it, and I will see you next time.
Happy 40th birthday!
You're welcome.